events impacted the course of their lives. Look ETAL, 2019. While few people are likely to forget the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, this event will have a larger impact on the attitudes and livelihood of younger adults. That is not to say that older adults are inflexible. People born in the 1930s, often known as the silent generation for their conservative outlook, increased their approval of modern cultural ideas such as premarital sex and working mothers as they aged from their 40s to their 70s. Donnelly ETAL, 2015, Twen ETAL, 2015. They also became more supportive of same-sex marriage. Twen and Blake, 2020. These middle-aged people had apparently changed with the times. Few of us are utterly uninfluenced by changing cultural norms. Page 187. What are they thinking? The crucial aspect of central root persuasion is not the message but the responses it evokes in a persona. Euro trademark S. Mind. Our minds are not sponges that soak up whatever pours over them. If a message summons favorable thoughts, it persuades us. If it provokes us to think of contrary arguments, we remain unpersuaded. Forewarned is forearmed. Euro. If you care enough to counter-argue, what circumstances breed counter-argument? Being able to come up with arguments against something. First, knowing someone is going to try to persuade you allows you to think of counter-arguments. If you had to tell your family that you wanted to drop out of school, you would likely anticipate their pleading with you to stay. So you might develop a list of arguments to counter every conceivable reason they might give. Euro and yuan. Euro trademark D. Then be less likely to be persuaded by them. Friedman and Sears, 1965. In courtrooms, 2. Defense attorneys sometimes forewarn juries about prosecution evidence to come. With mock juries, such a Euro stealing Thundera. Thunder. Euro neutralizes its impact. Dalma ETAL, 2003. A Euro Ito be forewarned and therefore forearmed. Is eminently rational if our belief is true, but if our belief is a delusion, this same forewarning and forearming would obviously be the method whereby the delusion rendered itself incurable. A Euro C. S. Lewis, Screwtape proposes a toast. 1965. Distraction disarms. Counter-arguing persuasion is also enhanced by a distraction that keeps people from thinking about counter-arguments. Festinger and Maccabee, 1964. Keating and Brock, 1974. Osterhaus and Brock, 1970. Participants who read a message while also watching a video, and thus a Euro multitasking the Euro, were less likely to counter-argue. Zhang and Guan, 2012. Political ads often use this technique. The words promote the candidate, and the visual images keep us occupied, so we don't. A Euro trademark T. Analyze the words. Distraction is especially effective when the message is simple, Harkins and Pettit. 1982, Reagan and Chen, 1973. Sometimes, though, distraction keeps us from processing an ad. That helps explain why ads viewed during violent or sexual TV programs are so often forgotten and ineffective. Bushman, 2005, 2007. Uninvolved audiences use peripheral cues. Recall the two routes to persuasion, the central route of systematic thinking and the peripheral route of heuristic cues. Like a road that winds through a small town, the central route has starts and stops as the mind analyzes arguments and formulates responses. Like the freeway that bypasses the town, the peripheral route speeds people to their destination. Analytical people. A Euro. Those with a high need for cognition. A Euro enjoy thinking carefully and prefer central routes. Cacciato ETAL, 1996. People who like to conserve their mental resources. A Euro. Those with a low need for cognition. A Euro are quicker to respond to such peripheral cues as the communicatora. Communicatora. Euro trademark S. Attractiveness and the pleasantness of the surroundings. In one study, students were asked to imagine they were planning a spring break trip and were trying to decide on a destination. They then looked at the tourism websites of the 5 most visited U.S. cities: Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Orlando, and Miami. Students who were more interested in a particular destination were more persuaded by the focus on the information provided on the website, the central route, while those who were less interested focused more on the website and Euro trademark S design, the peripheral route. 10 ETAL, 2012. Need for cognition, the motivation to think and analyze. Assessed by agreement with items such as a Euro or F. Notion of thinking abstractly is appealing to me. A Euro and disagreement with items such as a Euro OE. I only think as hard as I have to a Euro. The simple theory a Euro that what we think in response to a message is crucial, especially if we are motivated and able to think about it. A Euro has generated many predictions, most of which have been confirmed. Axum ETAL, 1987, Ad ETAL, 2008, Harkins and Petty, 1987. Many experiments have explored ways to stimulate people a Euro trademark S thinking, by using rhetorical questions, by presenting multiple speakers, for example, having each of 3 speakers give 1 argument instead of 1 speaker giving 3. By making people feel responsible for evaluating or passing along the message, by repeating the message, or by getting people a Euro trademark S in these trapped attention. The consistent finding with each of these techniques, stimulating thinking makes strong messages more persuasive and, because of counter-arguing, weak messages less persuasive. Are you more focused on the information on this website or its design? Your answer might depend on how interested you are in visiting New York. NetPhoto/Alamy stock photo, page 188. The theory also has practical implications. Effective communicators care not only about their images and their messages but also about how their audience is likely to react. In one series of experiments, liberals were more supportive of future-oriented messages, such as on gun control. A Euro OE. I would prefer to make a change, so that in the future people may own hunting rifles and pistols, but no one will have assault rifles and rifles. A Euro. Conservatives responded more favorably when the same message appealed to nostalgia. A Euro OE. I would like to go back to the good old days, when people may have owned hunting rifles and pistols, but no one had assault rifles. A Euro. Lammers and Baldwin, 2018. The best instructors get students to think actively. They ask rhetorical questions, provide intriguing examples, and challenge students with difficult problems. Such techniques foster the central route to persuasion. In classes in which the instruction is less engaging, you can still provide your own central processing. If you think about the material and elaborate on the arguments, you are likely to do better in the course. Summing up, what are the elements of persuasion? What makes persuasion effective? Researchers have explored 4 factors: the communicator, who says it, the message, what is said, the channel, how it is said, and the audience, to whom it is said. Credible communicators tend to be persuasive. People who speak unhesitatingly and who talk fast seem more credible. So do people who argue against their own self-interest. An attractive communicator is especially effective when the peripheral route is used, such as in matters of taste and personal values. Associating a message with good feelings makes it more convincing. People often make quicker, less reflective judgments while in good moods. Fear-arousing. Messages can also be effective, especially if the recipients feel vulnerable but can take protective action. People are more likely to do a small favor if they are asked to do a big favor first, the door-in-the-face technique, and are more likely to agree to a big favor if they agree to a small favor first, the foot-in-the-door phenomenon. Variation on the foot-in-the-door phenomenon is the lowball technique, in which a salesperson offers a low price, elicits a commitment from the buyer, and then increases the price. How discrepant the message should be from an audience and Euro trademark S existing opinions depends on the communicator Euro trademark S credibility, and whether a One or two-sided message is more persuasive depends on whether the audience already agrees with the message, is unaware of opposing arguments, and is unlikely later to consider the opposition. When two sides of an issue are presented separately, the primacy effect often makes the first message more persuasive. If a time gap separates the presentations, the more likely result will be a recency effect in which the second message prevails. Another important consideration is how the message is communicated. Usually, face-to-face appeals work best. Print media can be effective for complex messages. The mass media can be effective when the issue is minor or unfamiliar, and when the media reach opinion leaders. Finally, it matters who receives the message. The age of the audience makes a difference. Young people in Euro trademark S attitudes are more subject to change. What does the audience think while receiving a message? Do they think favorable thoughts? Do they counter-argue? Were they forewarned? Page 189. How can persuasion be resisted? Explain some tactics to resist unwanted persuasion attempts. Martial arts trainers devote just as much time teaching defensive blocks, deflections, and parries as they do teaching attack. Yet when it comes to social influence and persuasion, researchers have focused more on persuasive attack than on defense. Sagarin, 2002. Being persuaded comes naturally. Daniel Gilbert and colleagues, 1990-1993, reported. It is easier to accept persuasive messages than to doubt them. To understand an assertion, say, that lead pencils are a health hazard, is to believe it may at least temporarily, until one actively undoes the initial, automatic acceptance. If a distracting event prevents the undoing, the acceptance lingers. Still, blessed with logic, information, and motivation, we do resist falsehoods. If the repair persona Euro trademark S uniform and the doctor Euro trademark S title have intimidated us into unthinking agreement, we can rethink our habitual responses to authority. We can seek more information before committing time or money. We can question what we don't Euro trademark T understand. Attitude inoculation. William McGuire wondered, could we inoculate people against persuasion much as we inoculate them against a virus by giving them a vaccine with a milder form of the virus? Is there such a thing as attitude inoculation? He found there was, when participants were immunized by writing an essay refuting a mild attack on a belief. They were better able to resist a more powerful attack later. McGuire, 1964. With the spread of misinformation online, attitude inoculation can be likened to vaccinating against the virus of fake news. Attitude inoculation exposing people to weak attacks upon their attitudes so that when stronger attacks come, they will have reputations available. Counter-arguments reasons why a persuasive message might be wrong. Developing counter-arguments. One way inoculation can occur is by leading people to consider counter-arguments reasons why a persuasive message is wrong. Robert Cialdini and colleagues, 2003, wondered how to bring counter-arguments to mind in response to an opponent trademark S ads. The answer, they suggested, is e-poison parasite defense one that combines a poison, strong counter-arguments, with a parasite, similarities to an opponent trademark S ads. In their studies, participants who viewed a familiar political ad were least persuaded by it when they had earlier seen counter-arguments overlaid on it. Replica of the ad. Seeing the ad again thus also brought to mind the puncturing counter-arguments. Anti-smoking ads have effectively done this, for example, by recreating a MRO Vermana ad set in the rugged outdoors but instead showing a cowboy saying the emisses his love. These ads use images similar to the real ones but feature the powerful counter-argument that smoking harms health. Counter-arguments also came into play when psychologist Christopher Bryan and his colleagues, 2016, wondered how teens could be persuaded to choose healthier snacks. In a Texas middle school, One group of 8th graders received the usual health class appeal for healthier eating. But another group learned that the food industry used manipulative and deceptive strategies to sell junk food to young people, describing industry executives as a controlling, hypocritical adults when later given the chance to choose snacks for a class party. Teens who had learned the counter-argument that junk food was a profit grab by older people were more likely to favor carrots and water over cookies and soda. The lesson: teens might be more likely to eat healthy food if the trademark is framed as a rebellion. E-poison parasite ad. Retro with archive / Alamy stock photo page 190. Could attitude inoculation help counter the growing problem of fake news? False online news stories often shared via social media and misinformation. Sander van der Linden and his colleagues, 2017, exposed participants to a fake news story claiming that scientists have yet to reach a consensus about whether global warming is caused by humans, a false claim. 97% of climate scientists agree it is. Those who saw the false claim were later more likely to believe no consensus had been reached. But if readers were warned that politically motivated groups use misleading tactics to claim that there is no consensus helping them develop a counter-argument they were less likely to believe the false claim. Similarly, people who tried their hand at writing fake news articles and thus learned the techniques fake news uses to trick people were later less likely to believe misinformation themselves. Mertens et al. 2020. In a meta-analysis of 52 studies, researchers found that people who learned detailed counter-arguments, rather than simply hearing the information was wrong, were less likely to believe false claims. Chan et al. 2017. So if your Facebook friend spreads a fake news story, don't at trademark T just post that even trademark S wrong. Instead, link to a story from a reliable source that debunks it with counter-arguments. Vandermeer and Jin, 2020. Inoculating children against peer pressure to smoke. Consider how laboratory research findings can lead to practical applications. One research team had high school students inoculate 7th graders against peer pressures to smoke cigarettes. McAllister et al. 1980. The 7th graders were taught to respond to advertisements with counter-arguments. They also acted in role plays in which, after being called chicken for not taking a cigarette, they answered with statements such as trademark DV a real chicken if I smoke just to impress you After several of these sessions during the 7th and 8th grades, the inoculated students were half as likely to begin smoking as were inoculated students at another middle school one that had an identical parental smoking rate. Figure 7. Figure 7. The percentage of cigarette smokers at an inoculate middle school was much less than at a matched control school using a more typical smoking education program. Source: data from McAllister et al. 1980, Telch et al. 1981. Other research teams have confirmed that inoculation procedures reduce teen smoking. Buckman et al. 1995, 2008, Evans et al. 1984, Flay et al. 1985. Most newer efforts emphasize strategies for resisting social pressure. One study exposed 6th to 8th graders to anti-smoking films or to information about smoking, together with role plays of student-generated ways of refusing a cigarette. Hirschman and Leventhal, 1989. A year and a half later, 31% of those who watched the anti-smoking films had taken up smoking. Among those who role-played refusing, only 19% had begun smoking. Page 191. Anti-smoking and drug education programs apply other persuasion principles, too. They use attractive peers to communicate information. They trigger the students trademark own cognitive processing. Trademark as something you might want to think about. They get the students to make a public commitment by making a rational decision about smoking and then announcing it, along with their reasoning, to their classmates. These appeals and others seem to have worked. Only 6% of 12th graders in the United States smoked tobacco cigarettes in the last month in 2019, down from 38% in 1976. The new concern is e-cigarettes, which 26% of 12th graders in 2019 used to vape nicotine in the last month. Johnston et al., 2019. New programs will need to focus on helping teens counter-argue against vaping advertisements, as these advertisements appear to increase teen vaping. Hansen et al., 2020, Lucas et al., 2019, Padon et al., 2018. Inoculating children against the influence of advertising. Belgium, Denmark, Greece, Ireland, Italy, and Sweden all restrict advertising that targets children. McGuire, 2002. In the United States, noted Robert Levine in The Power of Persuasion, How We Euro trademark Reebok and sold. The average child sees more than 10,000 commercials a year. €1 decades ago. €1, he noted. €1 children drank twice as much milk as soda. Thanks to advertising, the ratio is now reversed at €1, 2003, p. 16. I general, my children refuse to eat anything that has a Euro trademark. T danced on television. €1 Bomb bet €1 early. When it comes to targeting kid consumers, we at General Mills followed the Procter & Gamble model of €1 cradle to grave €1 trademark. We believe in getting them early and having them for life. €1 Wayne Chillicky, General Mills, quoted by Motherhood Project, 2001. Hoping to restrain advertising the Euro trademark's influence, researchers have studied how to immunize young children against the effects of television commercials. Their research was prompted partly by studies showing that children, especially those under 8 years old, 1. Have trouble distinguishing commercials from programs and fail to grasp their persuasive intent. 2. Trust television advertising rather indiscriminately. And 3. Badger their parents for advertised products. Adler et al., 1980, Feshbach, 1980, Palmer and Dorr, 1980. In a more recent study, preschool children implicitly trusted ads on YouTube. Ben Wesenby et al., 2020, €1, which is important, as YouTube is now the primary source of video for young children. Children, it seems, are an advertiser. €1 trademark's dream, gullible, vulnerable, and an easy sell. Armed with these findings, citizens on Euro trademark groups have given the advertisers of such products a chewing out. Moody, 1980. €1 early. When a sophisticated advertiser spends millions to sell unsophisticated, trusting children an unhealthy product, this can only be called exploitation. €1 in €1 Mother's Euro trademark statement to advertisers. Euro Motherhood Project, 2001. A broad coalition of women echoed this outrage. For us, our children are priceless gifts. For you, our children are customers, and childhood is a market segment. €1 to be exploited. The line between meeting and creating consumer needs and desire is increasingly being crossed, as your battery of highly trained and creative experts study, analyze, persuade, and manipulate our children. The driving messages are €1 you deserve. A break today, €1 a hobby of your way, €1 follow your instincts. Obey your thirst, €1 just do it, €1 no boundaries, €1 eat at the urge. €1 these exemplify the dominant message of advertising and marketing, that life is about selfishness, instant gratification, and materialism. With much advertising moving online, new concerns arise. For example, young children may not recognize that online games they play, such as €1 Snap, in the face €4. Kentucky Fried Chicken, are actually advertising €1 often for unhealthy food, and Con, 2013. In one experiment, 7 and 8-year-old children who played these €1 or advert games €1 were more likely to choose foods higher in sugar and fat than those who did not play the games. Malenkov and Mizerski, 2007. Children are the advertiser €1 trademark S. Green. Researchers have therefore studied ways to inoculate children against the more than 10,000 ads they see each year, many as they are glued to a TV set. Bananastock/Getty Images page 192. On the other side are the commercial interests. They claim that ads allow parents to teach their children consumer skills and, more important, finance children at €1 trademark S television programs. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission has been in the middle, pushed by research findings and political pressures while trying to decide whether to place new constraints on TV. Ads for unhealthy foods and for R-rated movies aimed at underage youth. Children may not realize that online games are actually advertisements. €1 or that cereal with the word €1 or put €1 in its name doesn't €1 trademark T actually contain any fruit. Meanwhile, researchers have found that inner-city 7th graders who are able to think critically about ads €1 who have €1 emodiary resistance skills €1 also better resist peer pressure as 8th graders and are less likely to drink alcohol as 9th graders. Epstein and Goodman, 2008. Researchers have also wondered whether children can be taught to resist deceptive ads. In one such effort, Los Angeles area elementary school children received 3 half-hour lessons in analyzing commercials. The children were inoculated by viewing ads and discussing them. For example, after viewing a toy ad, they were immediately given the toy and challenged to make it do what they had just seen in the commercial. Feshbach, 1980. S. Cohen, 1980. Such experiences help breed a more realistic understanding of commercials. Consumer advocates worry that inoculation may be insufficient. Better to clean the air than to wear gas masks. It is no surprise, then, that parents resent it when advertisers market products to children, then place them on lower store shelves where kids will see them, pick them up, and nag and beg for them. For that reason, urges the €1 trademark code for advertisers, €1 there should be no advertising in schools, no targeting children under 8 years, no product placements in movies and programs targeting children and adolescents, and no ads directed at children and adolescents €1 or ad that promote an ethic of selfishness and a focus on instant gratification €1. Motherhood Project, 2001. Implications of attitude inoculation. The best way to build resistance to brainwashing probably is not just stronger indoctrination into only €1 trademark S. Current beliefs. If parents are worried that their children might start vaping, they might better teach their children how to counter persuasive appeals about vaping. For the same reason, educators should be wary of creating a germ-free ideological environment in their churches and schools. People who live amid diverse views become more discerning and more likely to modify their views only in response to credible arguments. Levitin and Visser, 2008. Also, a challenge to owning €1 trademark S views, if refuted, is more likely to solidify owning €1 trademark S position than to undermine it, particularly if the threatening material can be examined with like-minded others. Visser and Mirabile, 2004. Cults apply this principle by forewarning members of how families and friends will attack the cult at €1 trademark S beliefs. When the expected challenge comes, the member is armed with counter-arguments. Summing up, how can persuasion be resisted? How do people resist persuasion? Developing counter-arguments can help. A mild attack can also serve as an inoculation, stimulating one to develop counter-arguments that will then be available if and when a strong attack comes. This implies, paradoxically, that one way to strengthen existing attitudes is to challenge them, although the challenge must not be so strong as to overwhelm them. Concluding thoughts. Being open but not naive, page 193. As recipients of persuasion, our human task is to live in the land between gullibility and cynicism. Some people say that being persuadable is a weakness. Or think for yourself. We are urged. But is being closed to informational influence a virtue, or is it the mark of a fanatic? How can we live with humility and openness to others and yet be critical consumers of persuasive appeals? To be open, we can assume that every person we meet is, in some ways, our superior. Each person we encounter has some expertise that exceeds our own and thus has something to teach us. As we connect, we can hope to think critically, yet also to learn from this person and to reciprocate by sharing our knowledge. Page 194, Chapter 8, Group Influence. Peter Muller / image source. He never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Attributed to anthropologist Margaret Mead. What is a group? Social facilitation. How are we affected by the presence of others? Social loafing. Do individuals exert less effort in a group? De-individuation. When do people lose their sense of self in groups? Page 52, Chapter 3, Social Beliefs and Judgments. People images / digital vision / Getty images. How do we judge our social worlds, consciously and unconsciously? How do we perceive our social worlds? How do we explain our social worlds? How do our social beliefs matter? Concluding thoughts. Reflecting on illusory thinking, there is curious power to partisanship. Consider American politics. In a May 2020 poll, 74% of Democrats said the worst was yet to come in the COVID-19 outbreak, which began in February 2020. Among Republicans, 71% believed the opposite, that the worst was over. There was a similar split of opinion about how well the U.S. government was handling. 82% of Democrats said the government was doing a poor job. 80% of Republicans said it was doing a good job. Agesta, 2020. When a Democrat is president, Democrats say Presidents can trademark do anything about high gas prices. Republicans say the same when a Republican is president. But when the president is from the other party, people in both parties believe presidents can affect gas prices. Vedantam, 2012. Motivated reasoning. Such as a gut level liking or disliking of certain politicians. Can powerfully influence how we interpret evidence and view reality. Partisanship predisposes perceptions. And perceptions predict partisanship. as an old Chinese proverb says, a euro advocates of what we see is behind our eyes. A euro page 53. The differing responses of those with different beliefs, findings replicated in political perceptions throughout the world, illustrate how we construct social perceptions and beliefs as we judge events, informed by implicit rules that guide our snap judgments, and by our moods. Perceive and recall events through the filters our own assumptions, explain events by sometimes attributing them to the situation, sometimes to the person, and expect certain events, thereby sometimes helping bring them about. This chapter explores how we judge, perceive, and explain our social worlds and why our expectations matter. How do we judge our social worlds, consciously and unconsciously? Describe how judgments are influenced by both unconscious and conscious systems. System 1: the intuitive, automatic, unconscious, and fast way of thinking, also known as automatic processing. System 2: the deliberate, controlled, conscious, and slower way of thinking, also known as controlled processing. We have two brain systems, notes Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman in Thinking, Fast and Slow, 2011. System 1 functions automatically and out of our awareness, either Euro trademark S often called a Euro or intuition a Euro or a Euro a gut feeling a Euro, whereas System 2 requires our conscious attention and effort. System 1 influences more of our actions than we realize. For example, small reminders can influence our thinking without our knowing it, a process called priming. The Euro trademark S what we discuss next. Priming things we don't a Euro trademark T even consciously notice can subtly influence how we interpret and recall events. Imagine wearing earphones and concentrating on ambiguous spoken sentences such as, a Euro we stood by the bank. A Euro when a related word, river or money, is simultaneously sent to your other ear. You don't a Euro trademark T consciously hear it. Yet the unheard word a Euro or it primes a Euro your interpretation of the sentence, much as reading this figure below, from top down or from left to right primes your interpretation of the central character. Lars and McGovern, 1994. Priming activating particular associations in memory. Our memory system is a web of associations, and priming is the awakening or activating of certain associations. Experiments show that priming one thought, even without awareness, can influence another thought, or even an action. Heron et al., 2013. In a host of studies, priming effects occur even when the stimuli are presented subliminally a Euro 2 briefly to be perceived consciously. What a Euro trademark S out of sight may not be completely out of mind. An electric shock too slight to be felt may increase the perceived intensity of a later shock. If the word a Euro or a Euro is flashed so briefly that even Euro trademark S just below your conscious awareness, while Euro trademark LL detect a related word like a Euro of butter a Euro more quickly than an unrelated word like a Euro of bubbly Euro. Etley et al., 1999. Miracle et al., 2001. Religious people subliminally exposed to words associated with religion are more likely to help others. Sheriff et al., 2016. In each case, an invisible image or word primes a response to a later task. In another experiment, students were more likely to waddle on a balance beam in a room with posters of beer and vodka as opposed to an apple or orange juice. Cox et al., 2014. Unnoticed events can also subtly prime our thinking and behavior. Rob Holland and colleagues, 2005, observed that Dutch students exposed to the scent of an all-purpose cleaner were quicker to identify cleaning-related words, recalled more cleaning-related activities when describing their day, and even kept their desk cleaner while eating a crumbly cookie. Another team of Dutch psychologists found that people exposed to the scent of a cleaning product were less likely to litter. DeLange et al., 2012. All these effects occurred without the participants' a Euro trademark conscious awareness of the scent and its influence. Page 54. Priming experiments have their counterparts in everyday life, reported John Bart, 2006. Watching a scary movie alone at home can activate emotions that, without our realizing it, cause us to interpret furnace noises as a possible intruder. IJT experienced a version of this, returning to my New Orleans hotel room after a Euro or a ghost tour. A Euro shadow I had the Euro trademark T noticed before looked ominous. Further inspection yielded not a ghost but an end table at a strange angle. Depressed moods tend to prime negative associations, but put people in a good mood and suddenly their past seems more wonderful, their future brighter. For many psychology students, reading about psychological disorders primes how they interpret their own anxieties and gloomy moods. Reading about disease symptoms similarly primes medical students to worry about their congestion, fever, or headache. Studies of how implanted ideas and images can prime our interpretations and recall illustrate one of this book and Euro trademark S take-home lessons. Much of our social information processing is automatic. It is unintentional, out of sight, and happens without our conscious awareness. A Euro relying on System 1. As John Bart and Tanya Chartrand, 1999, explained, a Euro most of a persona Euro trademark S everyday life is determined not by their conscious intentions and deliberate choices but by mental processes that are put into motion by features of the environment and that operate outside of conscious awareness and guidance. A Euro embodied cognition, the mutual influence of bodily sensations on cognitive preferences and social judgments. Even physical sensations, thanks to our embodied cognition, prime our social judgments and vice versa. After assessing a cold person, people judge the room as colder than those assessing a warm person. Zimcal et al., 2013. Joan and Leonardelli, 2008. People who ate alone judged room temperature as colder than those who ate with others. Lee et al., 2014. Social exclusion literally feels cold. When holding a hard rather than soft ball, people judge the same face as more likely to be Republican than Democrat, and more likely to be a physicist than a historian. Slepian et al., 2012. People who feel hopeless perceive rooms to be darker. A Euro they donut. Donut Euro trademark T have a Euro array of hobby Euro. Dong et al., 2015. When sitting in a wobbly chair, BS. A stable one. People rate other couples on Euro trademark relationships as more unstable. Kill et al., 2013. Embodied cognition can also be social. When two people synchronize their bodies, as when dancing, singing, or walking together, they may also synchronize their spirits. As two walkers attend to their environment and coordinate their steps, mutual rapport and empathy increase and conflicts may resolve. Webb et al., 2017. The bottom line, our social cognition is embodied. The brain systems that process our bodily sensations communicate with the brain systems responsible for our social thinking. Walking together can lead to thinking and empathizing together. A copyright McGraw-Hill Education Intuitive Judgments. What are our powers of intuition? A Euro of immediately knowing something without reasoning or analysis. Advocates of a Euro or intuitive management a Euro believe we should tune into our hunches. A Euro to use System 1. When judging others, they say, we should plug into the non-logical smarts of our a Euro erudite brain. A Euro when hiring, firing, and investing, we should listen to our premonitions. In making judgments, we should trust the force within. Page 55. Are the intuitionists right that important information is immediately available apart from our conscious analysis? Or are the skeptics correct in saying that intuition is a Euro our knowing we are right, whether we are or know a Euro, and in finding that self-described a Euro or intuitive a Euro people are actually no better than others at tasks that assess intuition? Leach and Wick, 2018. The powers of intuition a Euro are at heart has its reasons which reason does not know. A Euro observed 17th century philosopher mathematician Blaise Pascal. 3 centuries later, scientists have proved Pascal correct. We know more than we know we know. Our unconscious information processing confirm our limited access to what a Euro trademark is going on in our minds. Bardetal, 2012. Benaggi and Greenwald, 2013. Strack and Deutsch, 2004. Our thinking is partly automatic, impulsive, effortless, and without our awareness a Euro system. 1. And partly controlled, reflective, deliberate, and conscious a Euro system 2. Automatic, intuitive thinking occurs not a Euro or on screen a Euro but off screen, out of sight, where reason does not go. Consider these examples of automatic thinking. Automatic thinking a Euro or implicit a Euro thinking that is effortless, habitual, and without awareness, roughly corresponds to a Euro or intuition. A Euro also known as System 1. Controlled thinking a Euro or explicit a Euro thinking that is deliberate, reflective, and conscious. Also known as System 2. Schemas are mental concepts or templates that intuitively guide our perceptions and interpretations. Whether we hear someone speaking of religious sex or sex depends on how we automatically interpret the sound. Emotional reactions are often nearly instantaneous, happening before there is time for deliberate thinking. A neural shortcut takes information from the eye or the ear to the brain. A Euro trademark as sensory switchboard, the thalamus, and to its threat detection center, the amygdala, before the thinking cortex has had any chance to intervene. Ledoux, 2002, 2014. Our ancestors who intuitively feared a sound in the bushes were usually fearing nothing. But when they were right and the sound was made by a dangerous predator, they became more likely to survive and pass their genes down to us. Given sufficient expertise, people may intuitively know the answer to a problem. Many skills, from piano playing to swinging a golf club, begin as a controlled, deliberate process and gradually become automatic and intuitive. Kruglansky and Gigerenzer, 2011. Master chess players intuitively recognize meaningful patterns that novices miss and often make their next move with only a glance at the board, as the situation cues information stored in their memory. Similarly, without knowing how, we recognize a friend a Euro trademark S voice after the first spoken word of a phone conversation. Given but a very small exposure to someone a Euro, even just a quick glance at their photo a Euro, people a Euro trademark S snap judgments do better than chance at guessing whether someone is outgoing or shy, straight, or gay. Rule, 2014. We remember some things a Euro facts, names, and past experiences a Euro explicitly, consciously, using System 2. But we remember other things a Euro skills and conditioned dispositions a Euro implicitly with System 1, without consciously knowing or declaring that we know. This is seen most vividly in people with brain damage who cannot form new explicit memories. One such person never could learn to recognize her doctor, who would need to reintroduce himself each day. One day, the doctor affixed a tack to his hand, causing the patient to jump with pain when they shook hands. When the physician next returned, the patient still didn't a Euro trademark T explicitly recognize him. But, due to her implicit memory, she moved the Euro trademark T shake his hand. Equally dramatic are cases of blind sight. Someone who has lost a portion of their visual cortex to certain in part of their field of vision. In the blind field, they report seeing nothing. After whether the sticks are vertical or horizontal, the patient said when told, a Euro you got them all right a Euro like the patient who a Euro you remember and a Euro the painful headshake. These people know more than they know. Consider your own taken for granted capacity to recognize a face. As you look at it, your brain breaks the visual information into dimensions such as color, depth, movement, and form, and works on each aspect simultaneously before reassembling the components. Finally, using automatic processing, your brain compares the perceived image with previously stored images. Or let Euro. In effortlessly, you recognize your grandmother. If intuition is immediately knowing something without reasoned analysis, then visual perception is excellent intuition. Page 56. Thus, many routine cognitive functions occur automatically, unintentionally, without awareness. Picture your mind functioning like a large corporation. The CDO A Euro, your controlled consciousness A Euro, attends to many of the most important, complex, and novel issues, while subordinates deal with routine affairs and matters requiring instant action. Like a CEO, consciousness sets goals and priorities, often with little knowledge of operational activities in the underlying departments. The limits of intuition. We have seen how can a Euro make a smart a Euro. Geiger 2007, 2010. Elizabeth Loftus and Mark Klinger, 1992. Like other cognitive scientists, never about the brilliance of intuition. A Euro were at unconscious. A Euro they were. A Euro he may not be as smart as previously believed. A Euro, for example, although subliminal stimuli can trigger a weak, fleeting response. A Euro enough to evoke a feeling if not conscious awareness. A Euro, there is no evidence that, for example, subliminal audio recordings can A Euro your unconscious movement Euro for success. In fact, a significant body of evidence indicates that they gain a Euro trademark T. Greenwald, 1992. In addition, humans have been reported that patients whose brain has Euro and believe a Euro explanations of their own puzzling behavior. If the patient gets up and takes a few steps after the experimenter flashes the instruction A Euro will walk the Euro to the patient a Euro trademark S nonverbal right hemisphere. The verbal left hemisphere will instantly provide the patient with a plausible explanation. A Euro OE I felt like getting a drink a Euro. Illusory intuition also appears in how we take in, store, and retrieve social information. Social psychologists study illusory thinking for what it reveals about normal information processing. These researchers want to give us a map of everyday social thinking, with the hazards clearly marked. As we examine these efficient thinking patterns, remember this: demonstrations of how people create false beliefs do not prove that all beliefs are false, although to recognize falsification, it helps to know how even Euro trademark has done. Overconfidence. So far we have seen that our cognitive systems process a vast amount of information efficiently and automatically. But our efficiency has a trade-off. As we interpret our experiences and construct memories, our automatic system-wide intuitions are sometimes wrong. Usually, we don't a Euro trademark to realize our errors. A Euro, in other words, we display overconfidence. Overconfidence phenomenon, the tendency to be more confident than correct. And Amos Tversky, 1979, gave people factual statements and asked them to fill in the blanks, as in the following sentence. A Euro OE I feel 98% certain that the air distance between New Delhi and Beijing is more than miles, but less than miles. A Euro asterisk. Most people were overconfident. Approximately 30% of the time. The correct answers lay outside the range they felt 98% confident about. If the Euro trademark had been accurate in their confidence, it should have been only 2%. Even when participants were offered lottery tickets for a correct answer, they were still too overconfident, identifying too narrow a range, also known as overprecision. A Euro consequences of overprecision are profound. A Euro note Albert Mans and Don Moore, 2013, p. 1196. A Euro people frequently get things too close. A Euro arriving late, missing planes, or bouncing checks. A Euro in thinking we know exactly how something will go. We too often miss the window. The Euro trademark is exactly what happened when 18 infectious disease X16 A Euro 17, 2020. They passed to estimate the number of COVID-19 cases the United States would have on March 29, 2020, and to give a range of 80% certainty from their lowest guess to their highest €, very similar to Kahneman and Tversky Euro trademark S task voice 2020. Were they right? Not really. Only 3 of the 18 actual number of cases on March 29, 1,653. Their average estimate was 20,000. And the majority were so confident of their guesses that the top and bottom of their range differed by only a few thousand cases. Piper, 2020, a classic example of over-precision. Page 57. Overconfidence is not limited to experts. Ironically, incompetence beats overconfidence. It takes confidence to recognize competence, noted Justin Kruger and David Dunning, 1999. Students who score the lowest on tests of grammar, humor, prone to overestimating their abilities. Those who mark T know what good logic or grammar is are often unaware that they lack it. If you make a list of all the words you can form out of the letters in or psychology, you may feel brilliant but then stupid when a friend starts naming the ones you missed. Overconfidence can grow with just a little knowledge. Beginners don't at trademark T start out overconfident, but wildly overestimate their skill and knowledge. After gaining limited experience, 2018. Follow-up studies found of owning trademark S incompetence a now widely known as the Dunning-Kruger effect occurs mostly on relatively easy seeming tasks. On more obviously difficult tasks, poor performance appreciate their lack of skill. Version ETAL, 2006. The perils of overconfidence. Before the number of cases began to skyrocket, some U.S. government officials and media figures dismissed the COVID-19 outbreak as media hysteria. Perhaps as a result, many people continued their lives as normal, including eating indoors and close together at bars and restaurants, as in this picture from a restaurant in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, in mid-March 2020. Thomas Cordy / the Palm Beach Post / Zuma Pressing / Alamy stock photo. Robert Balloni and colleagues, 1990, had college students predict in September whether they would drop a course, declare a major, elect to live off campus next year, and so forth. Although the students felt, on average, 84% sure of those self-predictions, they were wrong nearly twice as often as they expected to be. Even when feeling 100% sure of their predictions, they were right only 85% of the time. Ignorance of owning trademark S incompetence helps explain David Dunning a trademark S, 2005. Startling conclusion from employee assessment studies that what others see in us tends to be more highly correlated with objective outcomes than what we see in ourselves. If ignorance can beget false confidence, then likes. Where, we may ask, are you and I unknowingly deficient? Where wise know too well their weakness to assume infallibility, and he who knows most, knows best how little he knows. Thomas Jefferson, Writings, 1853. In estimating their chances for success on a task, such as a major exam, people trademark S confidence runs highest when the moment of truth is off in the future. By exam day, the possibility of failure looms larger and confidence typically drops. Jalovic ETAL, 1993, Shepard ETAL, 2005. These students are not alone. Stockbroker overconfidence. Mutual fund portfolios selected by investment analysts perform about as well as randomly selected stocks. Mockfield, 2016. The analysts might think they can pick the best stocks, but everyone else does. Euro stocks are a confidence game. Worse, people who are overconfident invest more and more even when things are in trademark T going well, digging in their heels after publicly declaring their choices. Rone ETAL, 2017. Political overconfidence. Overconfident decision makers can wreak havoc. It was confident Adolf Hitler who from 1939 to 1945 waged war against the rest of Europe. It was a confident Lyndon Johnson who in the 1960s invested U.S. weapons and soldiers in the effort asserted that Iraq, but none were ever found. Student overconfidence. In one study, students memorizing psychology test predicted how much credit they expected to receive. The overconfident students those who thought they were more accurate than they actually were did worse on the test, mostly because they stopped studying. Dunlawski and Rawson, 2012. Overconfidence can lead to failure. Why does overconfidence persist? Perhaps because we like those who are confident. In experiments, group members rewarded highly confident individuals with higher status even when their confidence was not justified by actual ability. Overconfident individuals spoke first, talked longer, and used a more factual tone, making them appear more confident than they actually were. Anderson et al., 2012. Even when groups worked together repeatedly and learned that the overconfident individuals were not as accurate as they said, group members continued to accord them status. Kelly et al., 2013. Overconfident people are seen as more desirable as romantic partners than the less confident. Murphy et al., 2015. If confidence, but not ability, helps people become leaders and attract mates, pervasive overconfidence seems less surprising but perhaps more distressing. Regarding the atomic bomb, that is the biggest fool thing we have ever done. The bomb will never go off, and I speak as an expert in explosives Admiral William Leahy to President Truman, 1945 early when you know a thing, to hold that you know it, and when you do not know a thing, to allow that you do not know it. This is knowledge Confucius, the Analects of Confucius. Confirmation bias a tendency to search for information that confirms only trademark S preconceptions. Page 58 People also tend not to seek information that might disprove what they believe. We are eager to verify our beliefs but less inclined to seek evidence that might disprove them, a phenomenon called confirmation bias. When given the chance to read news articles on a topic, people in the United States, Germany, and Japan spent more time reading articles consistent with their beliefs than articles inconsistent with their beliefs. Knobloch-Wester with et al., 2019. Sometimes people are willing to make sacrifices to not even hear arguments from the other side. In one study, opponents of same-sex marriage gave up the chance to win money to avoid hearing counter-arguments and so did supporters of same-sex marriage. Primer et al., 2017. Even when people are exposed to information disconfirming their beliefs, most choose to stick with their original beliefs. Capps et al., 2020. Stanley et al., 2020. Similarly, people often choose their news sources to align with their beliefs, a phenomenon known as or ideological echo chamber Del Vicario et al., 2017. Even when a source is less reliable, people are more willing to believe it if it affirms their beliefs. Westerwood et al., 2017. The reason why fake news can spread so widely. The same occurs with health information. Parents uncertain about vaccinating their children sought out more anti-vaccination information online, while those who favored vaccination sought out pro-vaccination information. Mapelin et al., 2019. Confirmation bias appears to be a system one-snap judgment, where our default reaction is to look for information consistent with our presupposition. Gilead et al., 2019. Stopping and thinking a little calling up system to make us less likely to commit this error. 4. Example, Yvonne Hernandez and Jesse Lee Preston, 2013, had college students read an article arguing for the death penalty. Those who read the article in a dark, Standard font did not change their opinions. But when the words were in light gray and italics, more shifted their beliefs. Euro probably because straining to read the words slowed down participants. Euro trademark thinking enough for them to consider both sides. Contemplation curtails confirmation. Confirmation bias helps explain why our self-images are so remarkably stable. In experiments at the University of Texas at Austin, William Swan and his colleagues, 1981, Swan et al., 1992a, 1992b, 2007, discovered that students see, elicit, and recall feedback that confirms their beliefs about themselves. People seek as friends and spouses those who bolster their own self-views. Euro even if they think poorly of themselves. Swan et al., 1991, 2003. Remedies for overconfidence. What lessons can we draw from research on overconfidence? One lesson is to be wary of other people. Euro trademark S dogmatic statements. Even when people are sure they are right, they may be wrong. Confidence and competence do not always coincide. Two techniques have successfully reduced the overconfidence bias. One is prompt feedback, Coryat et al., 1980. In everyday life, weather forecasters and those who set the odds in horse racing both receive clear, daily feedback. Perhaps as a result, experts in both groups do quite well at estimating their probable accuracy. Fishhoff, 1982. When people think about why an idea might be true, it begins to seem true. Kohler, 1991. Thus, a second way to reduce overconfidence is to get people to think of one good reason why their judgments might be wrong. That is, force them to consider disconfirming information. Coryat et al., 1980. Managers might foster more realistic judgments by insisting that all proposals and recommendations include reasons why they might not work. Still, we should be careful not to undermine people. Euro trademark as reasonable self-confidence or to destroy their decisiveness. In times when their wisdom is needed, those lacking self-confidence may shrink from speaking up or making tough decisions. Overconfidence can cost us, but realistic self-confidence is adaptive. Heuristics, mental shortcuts. Page 59. With precious little time to process so much information, our cognitive system is fast and frugal. It specializes in mental shortcuts. With remarkable ease, we form impressions, make judgments, and invent explanations. We do so by using heuristics. Euro simple, efficient thinking strategies. Heuristics enable us to make routine decisions with minimal effort. Shaw and Oppenheimer, 2008. In most situations, our system wants snap generalizations. Euro or method. Euro trademark S dangerous. Euro are adaptive. The speed of these intuitive guides promotes our survival. The biological purpose of thinking is not to make us right. Euro trademark S to keep us alive. In some situations, however, haste makes errors. Heuristics, a thinking strategy that enables quick, efficient judgments. The representativeness heuristic. University of Oregon students were told that a panel of psychologists interviewed 30 engineers and 70 lawyers and summarized their impressions in thumbnail descriptions. The following description, they were told, was drawn at random from the sample of 30 engineers and 70 lawyers, twice divorced. James spends most of his free time hanging around the country club. His clubhouse bar conversations often center on his regrets at having tried to follow his esteemed father. Euro trademark S footsteps. The long hours he had spent at academic drudgery would have been better invested in learning how to be less quarrelsome in his relations with other people. Question: what is the probability that James is a lawyer rather than an engineer? Asked to guess James' Euro trademark S occupation, more than 80% of the students surmised he was one of the lawyers. Fishhoff and Barnwell, 1984. Fair enough. Euro after all, lawyers were 70% of the sample. But how do you suppose those estimates changed when the sample description was given to another group of students, modified to say instead that 70% were engineers? Not in the slightest. The students took no account of the base rate of engineers, 70%, and lawyers, 30%. In their minds, James was more representative of lawyers, and that was all that seemed to matter. Or consider John, a 23-year-old white man low-euro trademark as an atheist and abuses drugs. What kind of music does he like? Most people guessed heavy metal, even though heavy metal fans are a very small minority of the population. Lonsdale and North, 2012. To judge something by intuitively comparing it to our mental representation of a category is to use the representativeness heuristic. Representativeness, typicalness, usually reflects reality. But, as we saw with a euro jams a euro above, it doesn't a euro trademark T always. Consider Linda, who is 31, single, outspoken, and very bright. She majored in philosophy in college. As a student, she was deeply concerned with discrimination and other social issues, and she participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Based on that description, would you say it is more likely that representativeness heuristic, the tendency to presume, sometimes despite contrary odds, that someone or something belongs to a particular group if representing, a typical member? A. Linda is a bank teller. B. Linda is a bank teller and active in the feminist movement. Most people think B is more likely, partly because Linda better represents their image of feminists, Mellors et al., 2001. But ask yourself, is there a better chance that Linda is both a bank teller and a feminist than that Shea Euro trademark as a bank teller, whether feminist or not? As Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, 1983, reminded us, the conjunction of two events cannot be more likely than either one of the events alone. The availability heuristic considered the following: do more people live in Iraq or in Tanzania? You probably answered according to how readily Iraqis and Tanzanians come to mind. If examples are readily available in our memory a euro as Iraqis tend to be a euro, then we presume that other such examples are commonplace. Usually this is true, so we are often well served by this cognitive rule, called the availability heuristic, Table 1. Said simply, the more easily we recall something, the more likely it seems. Answer: Tanzania a euro trademark has 56 million people, greatly outnumber Iraq a euro trademark has 37 million. Most people, having more vivid images of Iraqis, guess wrong. Availability heuristic, a cognitive rule that judges the likelihood of things in terms of their availability in memory. If instances of something come readily to mind, we presume it to be commonplace. There is no text on this page. Is Linda a bank teller, or a bank teller and a feminist? Yin-Yang/Getty Images Table 1 Fast and Frugal Heuristics page 60. If people hear a list of famous people of one sex, Oprah Winfrey, Billie Eilish, and Hillary Clinton, intermixed with an equal-sized list of not famous people of the other sex, Donald Stark, William Wood, and Mel Jasper, the famous names will later be more cognitively available, and people will believe they heard more women at Euro trademark S names, McElvey, 1995, 1997, Tversky and Kahneman, 1973. Likewise, media attention makes gays and lesbians cognitively available. In 2019, U.S. adults estimated that 24% of Americans were gay or lesbian. McCarthy, 2019, a euro more than 5 times the number who self-identify as gay, lesbian, or bisexual in surveys, 4.5% Newport, 2018. Try ordering these 4 cities according to their crime rates: Los Angeles, Memphis, New York, St. Louis. If, with available images from TV crime dramas in mind, you thought New York and Los Angeles were the most crime-ridden, Guess again, they each have about one-third the violent crime rate of Memphis or St. Louis, FBI, 2020. Most people reason dramatically, not quantitatively. Jurist Oliver Wendell Holmes, Jr. 18418 1935. Our use of the availability heuristic highlights a basic principle of social thinking. People are slow to understand specific examples from a general truth, but they are remarkably quick to infer general truth from a vivid example. No wonder that after hearing and reading stories of rapes, robberies, and beatings, 9 out of 10 Canadians overestimated usually by a considerable margin the percentage of crimes that involve violence. To Ann Roberts, 1988. No wonder that 74% of American parents in 2019, after several high-profile school shootings, believed schools were more dangerous than in 1999. Even though crimes at schools dropped by half between 2001 and 2017. Goldstein, 2019. And no wonder the breakfast server at a hotel for stranded airline passengers told me that, after hearing so many vivid stories of flights delayed by weather and mechanical problems, she would never fly. The availability heuristic explains why vivid, easy to imagine events, such as shark attacks or mass shootings, may seem more likely to occur than harder to picture events. McLeod and Campbell, 1992. Sherman et al., 1985. Likewise, powerful anecdotes can be more compelling than statistical information. We fret over extremely rare child abduction, even if we don't trademark T-buckle children in their car seats every time. We dread terrorism but are indifferent to global climate change. Armageddon in slow motion. Especially after the 2011 Japanese tsunami and nuclear power catastrophe, we have feared nuclear power, with little concern for the many more deaths related to coal mining and burning. Von Hippel, 2011. In short, we worry about remote possibilities while ignoring higher probabilities, a phenomenon that social scientists call probability neglect. Because news footage of airplane crashes is a readily available memory for most of us, we often suppose we are more at risk traveling in commercial airplanes than in cars. But in 2018, only one person died on AU.S. commercial airplane, compared to the 36,560 killed in car accidents that year. NHTSA, 2019. For most air travelers, the most dangerous part of the journey is the drive to the airport. Dave Coverly /speedbump.com, page 61. Soon after 9/11, as many people abandoned air travel and took to the roads, IDM estimated that if Americans flew 20% less and instead drove half those unflown miles, we could expect an additional 800 traffic deaths in the ensuing year. Myers, 2001. A curious German researcher checked that prediction against accident data, which confirmed in excess of some 1,595 traffic deaths in the ensuing year. Geiger 2004. The 9/11 terrorists appear to have killed 6 times more people unnoticed. On American trademark S-roads than they did with the 265 fatalities on those 4 planes. The availability heuristic may also make us more sensitive to unfairness, as our struggles are more memorable than our advantages. Democrats and Republicans both believe that the U.S. electoral map works against their party. Students think that their parents work harder on them than on their siblings. And academics believe that they have had a more difficult time with journal article reviewers than average. Divide and Jalovic, 2016. Vivid, memorable and therefore cognitively available events influence our perception of the social world. The resulting probability neglect often leads people to fear the wrong things, such as fearing flying or terrorism more than smoking, driving, or climate change. If two large jets filled with children crashed every day a approximating the number of childhood diarrhea deaths resulting from the rotavirus a something would have been done about it. By now it is clear that our naive statistical intuitions, and our resulting fears, are driven not by calculation and reason but by emotions attuned to the availability heuristic. After this book is published, there likely will be another dramatic shooting or terrorist event which will again propel our fears, vigilance, and resources in a new direction. Terrorists and mass shooters, aided by the media, may again achieve their objective of capturing our attention, draining our resources, and distracting us from the mundane, undramatic, insidious risks that, over time, devastate lives, such as the rotavirus, an intestinal infection, that each day claims the equivalent of two large jets filled with children, who, 2016. Testimonials may be more compelling than mountains of facts and figures, as mountains of facts and figures in social psychology so compellingly demonstrate. Mark Snyder, 1988. But then again, dramatic events can also serve to awaken us to real risks. That, say some scientists, is what happens when extreme weather events remind us that global climate change, by raising sea levels and spawning extreme weather, is destined to become nature a trademark's own weapon of mass destruction, AP, 2019. For Australians and Americans, a hot day can prime people to believe more in global warming, LETAL, 2011. Even feeling hot in an indoor room increases people a trademark's belief in global warming, Risen and Pritchard, 2011. Counterfactual thinking easily imagined, cognitively available events also influence our experiences of guilt, regret, frustration, and relief. If our team loses, or wins, a big game by 1 point, we can easily imagine the other outcome, and thus we feel regret, or relief. Imagining worse alternatives helps us feel better. When skier Lindsey Vonn lost a World Cup slalom event by just 0.03 seconds, she was happy for her competitor but noted that a trademark rather she beat me by a second imagining better alternatives, and pondering what we might do differently next time, helps us prepare to do better in the future, Epstein and Rose, 2008. Scholl and Sassenberg, 2014. Counterfactual thinking imagining alternative scenarios and outcomes that might have happened, but did that trademark T. In Olympic competition, athletes trademark emotions after an event reflect mostly how they did relative to expectations, but also their counterfactual thinking they're mentally simulating what might have been. McGraw ETAL, 2005, Hart ETAL, 2018. Bronze medalists, for whom an easily imagined alternative was finishing fourth without a medal, exhibit more joy than silver. Medalists, who express regret at not having won the gold, Allen ETAL, 2019. On the medal stand, happiness is as simple as 1-3-2. Similarly, the higher a student had trademark score within a grade category, such as B+, the worse they feel. Medved and Savitsky, 1997. The B+ student who misses an A by a point feels worse than the B+ student who actually did worse and just made a B+ by a point. Counterfactual thinking. When the price is right, contestants give the wrong answer and lose out on a prize. They likely experience counterfactual thinking imagining what might have been. Monty Brinton /CBS/Getty Images page 62. Such counterfactual thinking imagining what could have been occurs when we can easily picture an alternative outcome. Kahneman and Miller, 1986. Markman and McMullen, 2003. Petrocelli ETAL, 2011. If we barely miss a plane or a bus, we imagine making it if only we had left at our usual time, taken our usual route, or not paused to talk. If we miss our connection by a half hour or after taking our usual route, Even Euro trademark S harder to simulate a different outcome, so we feel less frustration. If we change an exam answer, then get it wrong, we will inevitably think a Euro or if only. A Euro and will now next time to trust our immediate intuition a Euro although, contrary to student lore, answer changes are more often from incorrect to correct. Kruger et al. 2005. If you book your trip and later find out the airline cut fares, you can easily imagine having waited another day or two and gotten the cheaper ticket. Park et al. 2018. The team or the political candidate who barely loses will simulate over and over how they could have won. Sana et al. 2003. Counterfactual thinking underlies our feelings of luck. When we have barely escaped a bad event a Euro avoiding. Defeat with a last-minute goal or standing near a falling icicle a Euro we easily imagine a negative counterfactual, losing, being hit, and therefore feel a Euro equal luck a Euro. Tigan et al. 1999. A Euro even luck a Euro refers to bad events that did happen but easily might not have. The more significant and unlikely the event, the more intense the counterfactual thinking. Roast and Kerr, 1997. Bereaved people who have lost a spouse or a child in a vehicle accident, or a child to sudden infant death syndrome, commonly report replaying and undoing the event. Davis et al. 1995, 1996. Niemeyer et al. 2020. One friend of mine DM survived a head-on collision with a drunk driver that killed his wife, daughter, and mother. A Euro 4 months. A Euro he recalled. A Euro I turned the events of that day over and over in my mind. I kept reliving the day, changing the order of events so that the accident would a Euro trademark T occur a Euro. Sitzler, 1994. Most people, however, live with more regret over things they did in a Euro trademark T do than what they did, such as, a Euro I should have told my father I loved him before he died a Euro or a Euro I wish I had been more serious in college a Euro. Jalovic and Medved, 1994. Rajagopal et al. 2006. In one survey of adults, the most common regret was not taking their education more seriously. Kinnear and Mehta, 1989. Would we live with less regret if we dared more often to reach beyond our comfort zone a Euro 2? Venture out, risking failure, but at least having tried. Illusory thinking. Another influence on everyday thinking is our search for order in random events, a tendency that can lead us down all sorts of wrong paths. Illusory correlation. It is easy to see a correlation where none exists. When we expect to find significant relationships, we easily associate random events, perceiving it. Illusory correlation. William Ward and Herbert Jenkins, 1965, showed people the results of a hypothetical 50-day cloud seeding experiment. They told participants which of the 50 days the clouds had been seeded and which days it rained. The information was nothing more than a random mix of results. Sometimes it rained after seeding, sometimes it did in a Euro trademark T. Participants nevertheless became convinced a Euro in conformity with their opinion about the efficacy of cloud seeding a Euro that they really had observed the relationship between cloud seeding and rain. Illusory correlation. Perception of a relationship where none exists, or perception of a stronger relationship than actually exists. Page 63. Other experiments confirm this illusory correlation phenomenon. People easily misperceive random events as confirming their beliefs. Crocker, 1981. Ratliff and Nozek, 2010. Trelier and Hamilton, 1986. If we believe a correlation exists, we are more likely to notice and recall. Confirming instances. If we believe that premonitions correlate with events, we notice and remember any joint occurrence of the premonition and the event a Euro trademark S later occurrence. If we believe that overweight women are less happy, we perceive that we have witnessed such a correlation even when we have not. Viken et al. 2005. We ignore or forget all the times unusual events do not coincide. If, After we think about the friend calls us, we notice and remember that. Coincidence. We don't a Euro trademark T notice all the times we think of a friend without any ensuing call, or receive a call from a friend about whom we Euro trademark be not been thinking. The odds of winning are the same whether you choose the numbers or someone else does. But when they win, many people believe it was due to their a Euro lucky numbers a Euro an example of illusory correlation. Shutterstock gambling compared with those given an assigned lottery number. People who chose their own number demanded 4 times as much money when asked if they would sell their ticket. Being the person who throws the dice or spins the wheel increases people a Euro trademark S confidence. Wall and Denzel, 2002. In these and other ways, dozens of experiments have consistently found people acting as if they can predict or control chance events. Stefan and David, 2013. Observations of real-life gamblers confirm these experimental findings. Orgaz et al., 2013. For example, dice players may throw softly for low numbers and hard for high numbers. Henslin, 1967. The gambling industry thrives on gamblers a Euro trademark illusions. Gamblers attribute wins to their skill and foresight. Losses become a Euro or misses a Euro or a Euro or looks a Euro, or for the sports gambler, a bad call by the referee or a freakish bounce of the ball. Jelovic and Douglas, 1986. Stock traders also like the a Euro feeling of empowerment a Euro that comes from being able to choose and control their own stock trades, as if their being in control can enable them to outperform the market average. One had declared that online investing a Euro is about control a Euro less. The illusion of control breeds overconfidence and, frequently, losses after stock market trading costs are subtracted. Barber and Godine, 2001a. 2001b. People like feeling in control and so, when experiencing a lack of control, will act to create a sense of predictability. In experiments, loss of control has led people to see illusory correlations in stock market information, to perceive non-existent conspiracies, and to develop superstitions. Whitson and Galinsky, 2008. Regression toward the average Tversky and Kahneman, 1974, noted. Another way by which an illusion of control may arise, we fail to recognize the statistical phenomenon of regression toward the average. Because exam scores fluctuate partly by chance, most students who get extremely high scores on an exam will get lower scores on the next exam. If their first score is at the ceiling, their second score is more likely to fall back, a Euro or regress a Euro, toward their own average than to push the ceiling even higher. That is why a student who does consistently good work, even if never the best, will sometimes end a course at the top of the class. Conversely, students who earn low scores on the first exam are likely to improve. If those who scored lowest go for tutoring after the first exam, the tutors are likely to feel effective when the student improves, even if the tutoring had no effect. Regression toward the average, the statistical tendency for extreme scores or extreme behavior to return toward their average. Indeed, when things reach a low point, we will try anything, and whatever we try a Euro, going to a psychotherapist, starting a new diet exercise plan, reading a self-help book a Euro is more likely to be followed by improvement than by further deterioration. Sometimes we recognize that events are not likely to continue at an unusually good or bad extreme. Experience has taught us that when everything is going great, something will go wrong, and that when life is dealing us terrible blows, we can usually look forward to things getting better. Often, though, we fail to recognize this regression effect. We puzzle at why baseball and Euro trademark S Rookie of the Year often has a more ordinary second year a Euro. Did he become overconfident? Self-conscious. We forget that exceptional performance tends to regress toward normality. Regression to the average. When we are at an extremely low point, anything we try will often seem effective. A maybe a yoga class will improve my life. A events seldom continue even abnormal. Love. Fat Camera / Getty Images page 64 by simulating the consequences of using praise and punishment. Paul Schaffner, 1985, showed how the illusion of control might infiltrate human relations. He invited Bowdoin College students to train an imaginary 4th grade boy, a-year-old, to come to school by 8:30 each morning. For each school day during a 3-week period, a computer displayed Harold a trademark arrival time, which was always between 8:20 and 8:40. The students would then select a response to Harold, ranging from strong praise to strong reprimand. As you might expect, they usually praised Harold when he arrived before 8:30 and reprimanded him when he arrived after 8:30. Because Schaffner had programmed the computer to display a random sequence of arrival times, Harold a trademark arrival time tended to improve, to regress toward 8:30, after he was reprimanded. For example, if Harold arrived at 8:39, he was almost sure to be reprimanded, and his randomly selected next day arrival time was likely to be earlier than 8:39. Thus, even though their reprimands were having no effect, most students ended the experiment believing that their reprimands had been effective. This experiment demonstrates Tversky and Kahneman a trademark's provocative conclusion. Nature operates in such a way that we often feel punished for rewarding others and rewarded for punishing them. In actuality, as you probably learned in introductory psychology, positive reinforcement for doing things right is usually more effective and has fewer negative side effects. Moods and judgments. Social judgment involves efficient information processing. It also involves our feelings. Our moods infuse our judgments. Unhappy people especially the bereaved or depressed tend to be more self-focused and brooding. Myers, 1993, 2000. But there is also a bright side to sadness. Forges, 2013. A depressed mood motivates intense thinking. A search for information that makes owning trademark's environment more memorable, understandable, and controllable. Happy people, by contrast, are more trusting, more loving, more responsive. If people are made temporarily happy by receiving a small gift while shopping, they will report, a few moments later on an unrelated survey, that their cars and phones are working beautifully. Better, if you took their word for it, than those belonging to folks who replied after not receiving gifts. When we are in a happy mood, the world seems friendlier, decisions are easier, and good news more readily comes to mind. Desteno et al., 2000, Eisen and Means, 1983, Stone and Glass, 1986. Let a mood turn gloomy, however, and thoughts switch onto a different track. Off come the rose-colored glasses, on come the dark glasses. Now the bad mood primes our recollections of negative events. Bauer, 1987, Johnson and Maccaro, 1987. Our relationships seem to sour. Our self-images take a dive. Our hopes for the future dim. And other people in trademark's behavior seems more sinister. Brown and Taylor, 1986. Meyer and Salovey, 1987. Joseph Forges, 1999, 2008, 2010, 2011, had often been struck by how people in trademark's memories and judgments change with the color of their mood. Say why trademark re-put in a good or a bad mood and then watch a recording, made the day before, of you talking with someone. If made to feel happy, you feel pleased with what you see, and you are able to detect many instances of your voice, interest, and social skill. If you want trademark be even put in a bad mood, viewing the same recording seems to reveal a quite different you. One who is stiff, nervous, and inarticulate. Forges et al., 1984, Figure 1. Given how your mood colors your judgments, You feel relieved at how things brighten when the experimenter switches you to a happy mood before leaving the experiment. Curiously, note Michael Ross and Garth Fletcher, 1985. We don't a Euro trademark T attribute our changing perceptions to our mood shifts. Rather, the world really seems different. To read more about moods and memory, see a Euro or F inside story, Joseph P. Forges, can bad weather improve your memory, a Euro. Figure 1. A temporary good or bad mood strongly influenced people. A Euro trademark S ratings of their videotape behavior. Those in a bad mood detected far fewer positive behaviors. Source, Forges et al., 1984. Page 65. Our moods color how we judge our worlds partly by bringing to mind past experiences associated with the mood. When we are in a bad mood, we have more depressing thoughts. Mood-related thoughts may distract us from complex thinking about something else. Thus, when emotionally aroused a Euro, when either angry or in a very good mood a Euro, we become more likely to make System 1 snap judgments and evaluate others. Based on stereotypes, Bodenhausen et al., 1994, Paul Huss and Lim, 1994. The Inside Story. Joseph P. Forges, can bad weather improve your memory? I noticed some time ago that I not only get into a worse mood on cold, rainy days, but surprisingly, I also seem to remember more clearly the details of what happens on such days. Could it be that negative mood also influences how well we monitor our environment? Perhaps a negative mood works like a mild alarm signal, alerting us to pay better attention to what is around us. I decided to examine this possibility in a natural experiment. We placed a number of small unusual trinkets around a Sydney suburban news agency, and then checked how well departing customers could remember these objects when they left the shop on cold, rainy days, or warm sunny days. Forges et al., 2009. My hunch was confirmed. Memory for objects in the shop was significantly better when customers were in a bad mood, on unpleasant days, than on pleasant sunny days. It seems that moods subconsciously influence how closely we observe the outside around us, with negative mood improving attention and memory. The take-home message from our research is that all our moods, including the negative ones, serve a useful evolutionary purpose, and we should learn to accept temporary states of a bad mood as a normal, and even useful part of life. Joseph P. Forges, the University of New South Wales, Australia. Joseph P. Forges. Summing up, how do we judge our social worlds? We have an enormous capacity for automatic, efficient, intuitive thinking, System 1. Our cognitive efficiency, although generally adaptive, comes at the price of occasional error. Because we are generally unaware of those errors entering our thinking, it is useful to identify ways in which we form and sustain false beliefs. Our preconceptions strongly influence how we interpret and remember events. In a phenomenon called priming, people a Euro trademark S prejudgments have striking effects on how they perceive and interpret information. We often overestimate our judgments. This overconfidence phenomenon stems partly from the much greater ease with which we can imagine why we might be right than why we might be wrong. Moreover, people are much more likely to search for information that can confirm their beliefs than for information that can disconfirm them. When given compelling anecdotes or even useless information, we often ignore useful base rate information. This is partly due to the later ease of recall of vivid information, the availability heuristic. We are often swayed by illusions of correlation and personal control. It is tempting to perceive correlations where none exist, illusory correlation, and to think we can predict or control chance events, the illusion of control. Moods infuse judgments. Good and bad moods trigger memories of experiences associated with those moods. Moods color our interpretations of current experiences. And by distracting us, moods can also influence how deeply or superficially we think when making judgments. How do we Perceive our social worlds. Explain how our assumptions and prejudgments guide our perceptions, interpretations, and recall. Page 66. Our preconceptions guide how we perceive and interpret information. We construe the world through belief-tinted glasses. A Euro Essure. Preconceptions. Matter. A Euro people agree, yet they fail to fully appreciate the impact of their own predispositions. Lita Euro trademark S. Consider some provocative experiments. The first group examines how predispositions and prejudgments affect how we perceive and interpret information. The second group plants a judgment in people a Euro trademark S minds after they have been given information to see how after the fact ideas bias recall. The overarching point, we respond not to reality as it is but to reality as we construe it. Perceiving and interpreting events despite some startling biases and logical flaws in how we perceive and understand one another. We Euro trademark Mostly Accurate. Jessim, 2012. Our first impressions of one another are more often right than wrong. Moreover, the better we know people, the more accurately we can read their minds and feelings. But on occasion, our prejudgments err. The effects of prejudgments and expectations are standard fare for psychology on Euro trademark S introductory course. Consider this phrase, a bird into the head. Did you notice anything wrong with it? There is more to perception than meets the eye asterisk. Political perceptions, page 67. The same is true of political perception. Because political perceptions are very much in the eye of the beholder, even a simple stimulus may strike two people quite differently. An experiment by Robert Balloni, Lee Ross, and Mark Lepper, 1985, revealed just how powerful preconceptions can be. They showed pro-Israeli and pro-Arab students 6 network news segments describing the killing of civilian refugees at 2 camps in Beirut, Lebanon. As Figure 2 illustrates, each group perceived the networks as hostile to its side. Figure 2. Pro-Israeli and pro-Arab students who viewed network news descriptions of the Euro Beirut massacre in Euro believed the coverage was biased against their point of view. Source: data from Balloni et al., 1985. Euro-Iranians, you have a belief. It influences how you perceive all other relevant information. Once you see a country as hostile, you are likely to interpret ambiguous actions on their part as signifying their hostility. Euro political scientist Robert Jervis, 1985. The phenomenon is commonplace. Sports fans perceive referees as partial to the other side. Political candidates and their supporters nearly always view the news media as unsympathetic to their cause. Richardson et al., 2008. And news articles as biased against their party. Lee et al., 2018. Democrats and Republicans both expected that their party would be more targeted by fake news attacks in the 2020 election. Gromlich, 2020. Euro trademark S. Not just fans and politics. People everywhere perceive mediators and media as biased against their position. Euro is no subject about which people are less objective than objectivity. Euro noted one media commentator, Pony Wozik, 2003. Indeed, people Euro trademark S. Perceptions of bias can be used to assess their attitudes. Saucier and Miller, 2003. Tell me where you see bias, and you will signal your attitudes. Is that why, in politics, religion, and science, ambiguous information often fuels conflict? Presidential debates in the United States have mostly reinforced pre-debate opinions. By nearly a 10-1 margin, those who already favored one candidate or the other perceived their candidate as having won. Kinder and Sears, 1985. Thus, Jeffrey Monroe and colleagues, 1997, reported that people on both sides may become even more supportive of their respective candidates after viewing a presidential debate. Some circumstances make it difficult to be unbiased. Alex Gregory. The bottom line, we view our social worlds through the spectacles of our beliefs, attitudes, and values. That is one reason our beliefs are so important. They shape our interpretation of everything else. Belief perseverance. Imagine a babysitter who decides, during an evening with a crying infant, that bottle feeding produces colicky babies. I come to think of it. Cow trademark S milk obviously suits calves better than babies. If the infant turns out to be suffering a high fever, will the sitter nevertheless persist in believing that bottle feeding causes colic? Ross and Anderson, 1982. To find out, Lee Ross, Craig Anderson, and colleagues planted a falsehood in people trademark S minds and then tried to discredit it. Partisan perceptions. Supporters of candidates usually believe their candidate won the debate. Christos S/Shutterstock, page 68. Their research reveals that it is surprisingly difficult to demolish a falsehood after the person conjures up a rationale for it. Each experiment first implanted a belief, either by proclaiming it to be true or by showing the participants some anecdotal evidence. Then the participants were asked to explain why it was true. Finally, the researchers totally discredited the initial information by telling the participants the truth. The information was manufactured for the experiment, and half the participants in the experiment had received the opposite information. Nevertheless, the false belief survived approximately 75% intact, presumably because the participants still retained their invented explanations for the belief. Even though the belief was false, the participants still held it tight. This phenomenon, called belief perseverance, shows that beliefs can grow their own legs and survive discrediting, especially if there are trademark S any uncertainty or debate about what a trademark S true and what a trademark S not. Anglin, 2019. In a time when a fake news false stories often designed to attract clicks and thus advertising profits, spreads on social media, Fulgoni and Lipsman, 2017. Even trademark S especially important to understand why people continue to believe false information. Belief perseverance persistence of owning trademark S initial conceptions, such as when the basis for owning trademark S belief is discredited but an explanation of why the belief might be true survives. Another example of belief perseverance, Anderson, Lepper, and Ross, 1980, asked participants to decide whether individuals who take risks make good or bad firefighters. One group considered a risk-prone person who was a successful firefighter and a cautious person who was unsuccessful. The other group considered cases suggesting the opposite conclusion. After forming their theory that risk-prone people make better, or worse, firefighters, the participants wrote explanations for it. For example, that risk-prone people are brave or that cautious people have fewer accidents. After each explanation was formed, it could exist independently of the information that initially created the belief. When that information was discredited, the participants nevertheless held to their self-generated explanations and therefore continued to believe that risk-prone people really do make better, or worse, firefighters. We hear and apprehend only what we already have. Henry David Thoreau, In the Heart of Thoreau trademark S journals, 1961. These experiments suggest that the more we examine our theories and explain how they might be true, the more closed we become to information that challenges our beliefs. When we consider why an accused person might be guilty, why an offending stranger acts that way, or why a favored stock might rise in value, our explanations may survive challenges. Davies, 1997, Jelilian and Miller, 1984. The evidence is compelling. Our beliefs and expectations powerfully affect how we mentally construct events. Usually, we benefit from our preconceptions, just as scientists benefit from creating theories that guide them in noticing and interpreting events. But the benefits sometimes entail a cost. We become prisoners of our own thought patterns. Thus, the supposed Martian Econolsa that 20th century astronomers delighted in spotting turned out to be the product of intelligent life but an intelligence on Earth trademark S side of the telescope. Constructing memories of ourselves and our worlds. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Memory can be likened to a storage chest in the brain into which we deposit material and from which we can withdraw it later if needed. Occasionally, something is lost from the euro purchase, and then we say we have forgotten. Memory is a euro trademark. T like reading a book. In a euro trademark, S more like writing a book from fragmentary notes. A euro John F. Kielstrom, 1994. In one survey, 85% of college students agreed. Lemmel, 1979. As one magazine ad put it, science has proven the accumulated experience of a lifetime is preserved perfectly in your mind. Actually, psychological research has proved the opposite. Our memories are not exact copies of experiences that remain on deposit in a memory bank. Rather, we construct memories at the time of withdrawal. Like a paleontologist inferring the appearance of a dinosaur from bone fragments, we reconstruct our distant past by using our current feelings and expectations to combine information fragments. Thus, we can easily, although unconsciously, revise our memories to suit our current knowledge. When one of my DM sons complained, where at June issue of Cricket never came, and was then shown where it was, he delightedly responded, where good. New trademark D gotten at page 69. When an experimenter or therapist manipulates people trademark S presumptions about their past, many people will construct false memories. Asked to imagine that, as a child, they knocked over a punch bowl at a wedding, about 1/4 will later recall the fictitious event as something that actually happened. Loftus and Bernstein, 2005. In its search for truth, the mind sometimes constructs a falsehood. In experiments involving more than 20,000 people, Elizabeth Loftus, 2003, 2007, 2011a, and collaborators have explored the Minda trademark S tendency to construct memories. In a typical experiment, people witness an event, receive misleading information about it, or not, and then take a memory test. The results find a misinformation effect in which people incorporate the misinformation into their memories. Scoperia et al., 2017. They recall a yield sign as a stop sign, hammers as screwdrivers, Vogue magazine as Mademoiselle, Dr. Henderson as a header, Davidson, a breakfast cereal as eggs, and a clean-shaven man as a fellow with a mustache. Suggested misinformation may even produce false memories of supposed child sexual abuse, argues Loftus. Misinformation effect incorporating a misinformation on into owning trademark S memory of the event after witnessing an event and receiving misleading information about it. This process affects our recall of social as well as physical events. Jack Croxton and colleagues, 1984. Had students spend 15 minutes talking with someone. Those who were later informed that this person liked them recalled the persona trademark S behavior as relaxed, comfortable, and happy. Those who heard the person disliked them recalled the person as nervous, uncomfortable, and not so happy. Reconstructing our past attitudes. A man should never be ashamed to own that he has been in the wrong, which is but saying in other words, that he is wiser today than he was yesterday. Jonathan Swift. Thoughts on various subjects. 1711 5 years ago. How did you feel about immigration? About your country, trademark S president or prime minister? About your parents? If your attitudes have changed, how much have they changed? Experimenters have explored such questions, and the results have been unnerving. People whose beliefs or attitudes have changed often insist that they have always felt much as they now feel. Wolf and Williams, 2018. Carnegie Mellon University students answered a long survey that included a question about student control over the university curriculum. A week later, they agreed to write an essay opposing student control. After doing so, Their attitudes shifted toward greater opposition to student control. When asked to recall how they had answered the question before writing the essay, the students remember and holding the opinion that they now held and denied that the experiment had affected them. Bain and McConnell, 1970. After observing students similarly denying their former attitudes, researchers D.R. Wixon and James Laird, 1976, commented, were at speed, magnitude, and certainty with which the students revised their own histories was striking as George Valiant, 1977, noted after following adults as they matured, right is all too common for caterpillars to become butterflies and then to maintain that in their youth they had been little butterflies. Maturation makes liars of us all and travel is glamorous only in retrospect Paul Theroux, The Washington Post, 1979 The construction of positive memories brightens our recollections. Terrence Mitchell, Lee Thompson, and colleagues, 1994, 1997, reported that people often exhibit rosy retrospection they recall mildly pleasant events more favorably than they experienced them. College students on a 3-week bike trip, older adults on a guided tour of Austria, and undergraduates on vacation all reported enjoying their experiences as they were having them. But they later recalled such experiences even more fondly, minimizing the unpleasant or boring aspects and remembering the high points. Kathy McFarland and Michael Ross, 1985, found that as our relationships change, we also revise our recollections of other people. They had university students rate their steady dating partners. 2 months of love at first sight those who had broken up were more likely to underestimate their earlier liking recalling their ex as somewhat selfish and bad-tempered. Page 70 Diane Holmberg and John Holmes, 1994, discovered the phenomenon also operating among 373 newlywed couples, most of them reported being very happy. When resurveyed 2 years later, those whose marriages had soured recalled that things had always been bad. The results are frightening, said Holmberg and Holmes, as such biases can lead to a dangerous downward spiral. The worse your current view of your partner is, the worse your memories are, which only further confirms your negative attitudes right now, and you might falsely recall that your relationship was never that happy. Tetra Images / Getty Images trademark. It's not that we are totally unaware of how we used to feel, but when memories are hazy, current feelings guide our recall. When widows and widowers try to recall the grief they felt on their spouse trademark death 5 years ago, their current emotional state colors their memories. Saber et al., 2001. When patients recall their previous diet trademark headache pain, their current feelings sway their recollections. IETAL, 1985. Depressed people who get Botox which prevents them from frowning recover from depression more quickly, perhaps because they find it more difficult to remember why they were sad. Lewis and Fuller, 2009. Reconstructing our past behavior. Memory construction enables us to revise our own histories. In one study, University of Waterloo students read a message about the benefits of toothbrushing. Later, in a supposedly different experiment, these students recalled brushing their teeth more often during the preceding 2 weeks than students who had not heard the message. Ross, 1981. Likewise, judging from surveys, people report smoking many fewer cigarettes than are actually sold. Hall, 1985. And they recall casting more votes than were actually recorded. Bureau of the Census, 2020. Evanini plays lurid tricks with our memory. Joseph Conrad, Lord Jim, 1900. Social psychologist Anthony Greenwald, 1980, noted the similarity of such findings in George Orwell trademark novel 1984 in which it was necessary to remember that events happened in the desired manner indeed, argued Greenwald. We all have a euro endo ethos, a euro that revised the past to suit our present views. Thus, we underreport bad behavior and overreport good behavior. Sometimes our present view is that we euro trademark BE improved a euro, in which case we may misrecall our past as more unlike the present than it actually was. This tendency resolves a puzzling pair of consistent findings. Those who participate in psychotherapy and self-improvement programs for weight control, smoking cessation, and exercise show only modest improvement on average. Yet they often claim considerable benefit. Michael Conway and Michael Ross, 1986, explained why, having expended so much time, effort, and money on self-improvement, people may think, I may not be perfect now, but I was worse before. This did me a lot of good. Our social judgments are a mix of observation and expectation, reason, and passion. Summing up, how do we perceive our social worlds? Experiments have planted judgments or false ideas in people in trademark S minds after they have been given information. These experiments reveal that as before the fact judgments bias our perceptions and interpretations, so after the fact judgments bias our recall. Belief perseverance is a phenomenon in which people cling to their initial beliefs and the reasons why a belief might be true, even when the basis for the belief is discredited. Far from being a repository for facts about the past, our memories are actually formed when we retrieve them, and they are subject to strong influence by the attitudes and feelings we hold at the time of retrieval. How do we explain our social worlds? Recognize how and how accurately we explain others' trademark behavior. Page 71. People make it their business to explain other people, and social psychologists make it their business to explain people in trademark S explanations. Our judgments of people depend on how we explain their behavior. Depending on our explanation, we may judge killing as murder, manslaughter, self-defense, or heroism. Depending on our explanation, we may view a homeless person as lacking initiative or as victimized by job and welfare cutbacks. Depending on our explanation, we may interpret someone in trademark S friendly behavior as genuine warmth or as ingratiation. Attribution theory helps us make sense of how such explanations work. Attributing causality to the person or the situation, we endlessly analyze and discuss why things happen as they do, especially when we experience something negative or unexpected. Wiener, 1985, 2008, 2010. If worker productivity declines, do we assume the workers are getting lazier or has their workplace become less efficient? Does a young boy who hits his classmates have a hostile personality or is he responding to relentless teasing? Attribution theory, the theory of how people explain others' trademark behavior for example, by attributing it either to internal dispositions, enduring traits, motives, and attitudes, or to external situations. Dispositional attribution, attributing behavior to the persona trademark S disposition and traits. Situational attribution, attributing behavior to the environment. Misattribution, mistakenly attributing a behavior to the wrong source. Attribution theory analyzes how we explain people in trademark S behavior and what we infer from it. Gilbert and Malone, 1995, Hyder, 1958. We sometimes attribute people in trademark S behavior to internal causes, for example, someone in trademark S disposition or mental state, and sometimes to external causes, for example, something about the situation. A teacher may wonder whether a child in trademark S underachievement is due to a lack of motivation and ability, an internal cause or a dispositional attribution, or to physical and social circumstances. An external cause or situational attribution. Also, some people are more inclined to attribute behavior to stable personality, whereas others are more likely to attribute behavior to situations. Bastian and Haslam, 2006. Robbins et al., 2004. Researchers found that married people often analyze their partners on Euro trademark behaviors, especially their negative behaviors. Cold hostility, more than a warm hug, is likely to leave the partner wondering a euro or iwi. A euro, Holdsworth and Jacobson, 1988. Spouse a euro trademark answers correlate with marital satisfaction. Unhappy couples usually offer internal explanations for negative acts. A euro she was late because she doesn't a euro trademark T care about me a euro. Happy couples more often externalize. A euro she was late because of heavy traffic a euro. Explanations for positive acts similarly work either to maintain distress. A euro he brought me flowers because he wants sex a euro, or to enhance the relationship. A euro he brought me flowers to show he loves me a euro. Hughes, Tone and Fincham, 1996. McNulty et al., 2008. Wiener, 1995. Antonia Abbey and colleagues, 1987, 1991, 2011, have repeatedly found that men are more likely than women to attribute a woman a euro trademark S friendliness to sexual interest. Mean a euro trademark S misreading of women a euro trademark S warmth as a sexual come on a euro an example of misattribution a euro can contribute to sexual harassment or even rape. Paris et al., 2008. Kalibas and Gross, 2007. Pryor et al., 1997. Many men believe women are flattered by repeated requests for dates, which women more often view as harassment. Rotundo et al., 2001. A misattribution. Sexual harassment sometimes begins with a mon a euro trademark S misreading a woman a euro trademark S warmth as a sexual come on. People images / Getty images misattribution is particularly likely when men are in positions of power. A manager may misinterpret a subordinate woman a euro trademark as submissive or friendly behavior and full of himself. See her in sexual terms. Mark and Raymond, 1995. Men think about sex more often than do women. Men also are more likely than women to assume that others share their feelings. Lee et al., 2020. Thus, a man with sex on his mind may greatly overestimate the sexual significance of a woman a euro trademark S courtesy smile. Levesque et al., 2006. Nelson and LaHoop, 2002. Misattributions help explain why, in one national survey, 23% of American women said they had been forced into an unwanted sexual act, but only 3% of American men said they had ever forced a woman into a sexual act. Lawman et al., 1994. Inferring traits page 72 we often assume or infer that other people a euro trademark S actions are indicative of their intentions and dispositions. Jones and Davis, 1965. If we observe Mason making a sarcastic comment to Ashley, we decide that Mason is a hostile person. When are people more likely to infer that others a euro trademark behavior is caused by traits? For one thing, behavior that a euro trademark S normal for a particular situation tells us less about the person than does behavior unusual for that situation. If Samantha is sarcastic in a job interview, a situation in which sarcasm is rare, that tells us more about Samantha than if she is sarcastic with her siblings. The ease with which we infer traits a euro phenomenon called spontaneous trait inference a euro is remarkable. In experiments at New York University, James Ullman, 1989, Ullman et al., 2008, gave students statements to remember, such as a euro or F librarian carries the old woman a euro trademark S groceries across the street a euro. The students would instantly, unintentionally, and unconsciously infer a trait. When later they were helped to recall the sentence, the most valuable clue word was not a euro e-books a euro, to Q librarian, or a euro e-books a euro, to Q groceries, but a euro a helpful a euro the inferred trait that we suspect you, to spontaneously attributed to the librarian. Just 1/10 of a second exposure to someone in a Euro trademark S-face leads people to spontaneously infer some personality traits. Willis and Todorov, 2006. Spontaneous trait inference and effortless, automatic inference of a trait after exposure to someone in a Euro trademark S behavior. The fundamental attribution error social psychology on Euro trademark S most important lesson concerns the influence of our social environment. At any moment, our internal state, and therefore, what we say and do, depends on the situation as well as on what we bring to the situation. In experiments, a slight difference between two situations sometimes greatly affects how people respond. As a professor, I have seen this when teaching the same class. At both 8:38.m and 7:00p.m. Silent stares would greet me at 8:30, at 7:00, I had to break up a party. In each situation, some individuals were more talkative than others, but the difference between the two situations exceeded the individual differences. Attribution researchers have found a common problem with our attributions. When explaining someone in a Euro trademark S behavior, we often underestimate the impact of the situation and overestimate the extent to which it reflects the individual Euro trademark S traits and attitudes. Thus, even knowing the effect of the time of day on classroom conversation, I found it terribly tempting to assume that the people in the 7:00p.m. class were more extrovert than the Euro excellent types Euro who came at 8:38.m. Likewise, we may infer that people fall because the Euro trademark clumsy rather than because they were tricked, that people smile because the Euro trademark happy rather than faking friendliness, and that people speed past us on the highway because the Euro trademark aggressive rather than late for an important meeting. This discounting of the situation, called the fundamental attribution error, Ross, 1977, 2018, appears in many experiments. In the first such study, Edward Jones and Victor Harris, 1967, at Duke University students read debaters on Euro trademark speeches supporting or attacking communist Cuba Euro trademark S leader at the time, Fidel Castro. When told that the debater chose which position to take, the students logically assumed it reflected the persona Euro trademark S own attitude. But what happened when the students were told that the debate coach had assigned the position? Students still inferred that the debater had the assigned leanings. Figure 3. People seem to think, I know he was assigned that position, but I think he really believes it. Fundamental attribution error, the tendency for observers to underestimate situational influences and overestimate dispositional influences upon others. Euro trademark behavior. To what should we attribute a student Euro trademark S sleepiness? To lack of sleep? To boredom? Whether we make internal or external attributions depends on whether we notice her consistently sleeping in this and other classes, and on whether other students react as she does to this particular class. Wave break media /Shutterstock. Figure 3. The fundamental attribution error. When people read a debate speech supporting or attacking Fidel Castro, they attributed corresponding attitudes to the speechwriter, even when the debate coach assigned the writer a Euro trademark S position. Source: data from Forgas et al., 1984. Page 73. Even when people know they are causing someone else a Euro trademark S behavior, they still underestimate external influences. If individuals dictate an opinion that someone else must then express, they still tend to see the person as actually holding that opinion. Gilbert and Jones, 1986. If people are asked to be either self-enhancing or self-deprecating during an interview, they are very aware of why they are acting so. But they are unaware of their effect on another person. If one acts modestly, his conversation partner even is likely to exhibit modesty as well. One will easily understand his own behavior, but he will think that poor Ethan suffers from low self-esteem. In short, We tend to presume that others are the way they act even when we don't trademark make the same presumption about ourselves. Observing Cinderella cowering in her oppressive home, people, ignoring the situation, infer that she is meek, dancing with her at the ball. The prince sees a suave and glamorous person. Cinderella knows she is the same person in both situations. When viewing an actor playing a Evelyn role, we find it difficult to escape the illusion that the scripted behavior reflects an inner disposition. Tuchinski. 2020. Thus, we might see actress Lena Headey as scheming and manipulative, similar to the character she plays in the show Game of Thrones. HBO/BSkyB/Koval/Shutterstock Lee Ross, one of the first to research the fundamental attribution error, had first-hand experience with the phenomenon when he went from being a graduate student to a professor. His doctoral oral exam had proved a humbling experience as his apparently brilliant professors quizzed him on topics they specialized in. 6 months later, Dr. Ross was himself an examiner, now able to ask penetrating questions on his favorite topics. Rosa trademark's hapless student later confessed to feeling exactly as Ross had a half year before dissatisfied with his ignorance and impressed with the apparent brilliance of the examiners. Ross, 2018. In an experiment mimicking his student-to-professor experience, Ross set up a simulated quiz game. He randomly assigned some Stanford University students to play the role of questioner, some to play the role of a contestant, and others to observe. The researchers invited the questioners to make up difficult questions that would demonstrate their wealth of knowledge. Any one of us can imagine such questions using only trademark's own domain of competence. Where is Bainbridge Island? How did Mary, Queen of Scots, die? Which has the longer coastline? Europe or Africa? If even those few questions have you feeling a little uninformed, then you will appreciate the results of this experiment. Ross et al. 1977. Page 74. Everyone had to know that the questioners would have the advantage. Yet both contestants and observers came to the erroneous conclusion that the questioners really were more knowledgeable than the contestants. Figure 4. Follow-up research shows that these misimpressions are not a reflection of low social intelligence. If anything, college students and other intelligent and socially competent people are more likely to make the attribution error. Bauman and Skitka, 2010. Block and Funder, 1986. Figure 4. Both contestants and observers of a simulated quiz game assumed that a person who had been randomly assigned the role of questioner was far more knowledgeable than the contestant. Actually, the assigned roles of questioner and contestant simply made the questioner seem more knowledgeable. The failure to appreciate this illustrates the fundamental attribution error. Source: data from Valloni et al. 1985. People often attribute keen intelligence to those, such as teachers and quiz show hosts, who test others on trademark knowledge. ABCTV/Koval/Shutterstock. In real life, those with social power usually initiate and control conversations, which often leads underlings to overestimate